that's the pivot we made a few months ago to ensure that we will be able to make it successful from a business perspective, because sustainability-wise, it makes complete sense, but to be a real solution for the customers, for all customers, it also has to make business sense. And that's where we did that pivot to be sure that, sustainability alone will not be strong enough, a strong driver enough to make the customer take the decision to move away from the carton single-use solution and move to the reusable one. So that's the way we approach the market today.
Hello, and welcome to the EcoSend podcast, a weekly podcast on becoming a climate-conscious business. Every week, we'll be interviewing founders, marketers, and leaders who are championing the climate. The podcast is hosted by myself, James Gill, co-founder and CEO of Go Squared, and the makers of EcoSend. If you run a business or are responsible for growing one, and you want to have a positive impact on the environment, then listen on. Every episode, our goal is for you to learn something and be inspired to take some action. Every single one of us making small changes and some large changes will add up. We're all in this together. So let's get on with the show. Thanks so much for listening. Now let's meet today's guest. Hi there, welcome to another episode of the EcoSend podcast. I'm thrilled to be doing another episode of the show. For those who are maybe tuning in for the first time, the EcoSend podcast is a show where we interview people doing great stuff in the world, usually from the world of business, but having a business with more of a purpose about it, and often trying to make the world a little bit better, especially through their climate work. And this week is no different. I am here with a wonderful guest this week. I am joined by Loïc Vandermeeren from Quid. And Loïc is going to talk to us all about his business that he is building and his journey. Loïc's originally from Belgium. He moved to Switzerland 5 years ago for work. He's a chemist by background. And he's been working for 16 years in the pharmaceutical industry. But he's now on his journey with Quid in the world of startups, and the world of startups trying to make the world better. So I'm very excited to be joined by you, Loïc. How are you doing today? Welcome to the show.
Hi, James. I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
Awesome to have you. So Loïc, maybe in your own words, it'd be great if you could share what you're up to right now and what you're doing with Quid, and maybe also a little bit about your journey to this. I'm really fascinated to dig into it.
Sure. So I'm a chemist by background, and I think since I was a teenager, I always had the entrepreneur DNA in me, and I always wanted to help and share what I learned along the way and listen to people. And I think I was close to launch a business several times, but this time is a good one. At least I jump into the water, and the idea is to give a better place to everyone, and a specific idea which I'm working on for the moment is to reduce the number of single-use packaging we have on the planet, so basically the carton boxes, and I would like to replace them with what we have created, which is an innovative, very simple but strong reusable box.
This is so exciting, because I think anyone listening is very aware of how many bits of packaging and parcels that they pick up and end up throwing away almost immediately on a daily basis. I know in London, the temptation to order just one more thing on Amazon, and you end up with 5 items with 5 huge cardboard boxes, and before you know it, your bin is full with cardboard that's been used for about 5 seconds. So I'm very, very excited to hear more about this, Loïc, and dig in, because it sounds like you're working on something that's greatly, greatly needed in the world right now.
So that's exactly
why that. Yeah, why? Yeah.
No, please go.
I was gonna say, why are you working on this then, Loïc? How did you get to this point? What's your journey been like to get to here? Because I'm sure you didn't just wake up and decide to work on that.
I wanted to create a better place for everyone. Not that the place we are living in is bad, but it can be better, especially from a environment perspective, and also for the kids and the next generation. So one day I was just, going to the recycling park with my carton, and I realized that I was not the only one. Many people come to the recycling port, and that's only, the good citizen wanted to recycle their stuff. And I saw all the carton just piling up into the container and say, hey, there is something we should do about it. We are trying, in the old days, you have these milk bottles with a cushion, with a deposit on it, and that's the idea. So can we, in place of creating new packaging each time, could we just reuse the one that we had? But to be able to tackle that challenge, we had a couple of issue to solve. It should be robust enough. We should be able to use it in a way that it will not damage the box. It should be very simple. It should be gamish for the user to be able to use it. And more importantly, it has to make business sense for the retailers, for the one who create the order, prepare the order. It must be fast, but also it has to make business sense for them. If you propose something which is good for the planet but more expensive, unfortunately, it does not work. So we had to fix those challenges, and finally we found something which is exactly that. So we have an instant opening system, a very robust box. And we are looking for our customers now. So the proof of concept has been completed. We are doing pilots in the coming months with different companies. So yeah, this is the start of the journey. I'm very excited to be able to leverage what I learned along the way. And it's about, I'm used to say, and that's probably something we can discuss. You can have an idea, that's great, that's a spark, but to be able to continue and make it real, you need to execute. You need to make it real. You can have the spark, but without the fuel, you will not have any flame, right? So the idea is just the start, and then to be able to make it real and happening in the real world, you need to execute. That's really key. And I was afraid for so long, and now I did that additional steps, which was not that difficult. It was more a mental blockage. But when you jump in, you just have, you have good days, bad days, that as well. But you just have to crush it and continue.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess it's an incredibly exciting time to be starting something new, but also sometimes terrifying. How did your I'm intrigued by how your background in pharmaceuticals and the maybe the slightly more corporate world has influenced your decision to go into this, and where is that helping you out on your journey, if at all?
I think it does. Because of my scientific background, I'm really passionate about operation and how things works. It's not only high level strategic thinking, it's about how do you do it on the field? How do you make it happen? So this very practical approach is really something I like. And then, of course, it's about connection with people, dealing with partners, dealing with customers. So it's all about human relationship. And when you do that, when you do business for good with a purpose, that makes, it creates a specific magic, special magic that makes things very exciting. And that's how everything connects, is having a purpose, having a vision, and do that with people who share that vision with you, give a very vibrant execution and journey.
Yeah. I know you wanted to talk a bit about that entrepreneurial journey and the importance of execution towards it, because I think many people listening will maybe have ideas for how, or maybe frustrations with the world and ideas for ways they might want to solve it, but as I think anyone doing something knows, like, the ideas are great, but they're often pretty useless without a bit of execution. So what's your secret here to actually making some of those ideas into reality? Like, give all your secrets away, please.
I think there is no magic, but there is some mindset that will help you to make it real. And motivation is there for the good days. When you have an idea, you're all excited about it, you want to do it, you want to make it real. But they will have tough days, and those tough days are where discipline is required. So motivation is for the good days, and discipline is for the tough days. And when you realize that the entrepreneur journey is a roller coaster, and you would have good days and bad days, and that's normal, that's life. You have summer and winter. What I underestimated as a founder is that those ups and downs will be so close. When I was in the corporate world, it was more smooth. You have high and down, but the frequency was not that high. And now you can be high in the morning and down in the afternoon, or almost like this, right? And that's normal. And you just have to continue according to your plan, be proactive as much as you can, have different plans. If that comes in, what will be the move? What is the decision? What is the plan B? And that's really it. You don't have to be stupid though. When there are some obvious situations, you don't have to continue hitting the wall. You need to be smart, but discipline is really key. That will make you cruise the storm.
Yeah, there's a great book you that I enjoyed. You may have seen it too, called Atomic Habits, and I know it's been a very popular book, at least in the UK, and there's a quote in there that's something like we don't rise to the level of our goals, but we fall to the level of our systems, and that stuck with me quite a bit in terms of building healthy or like reliable habits and systems that help you keep on track even on those really tough low days. And no one's perfect, but what you were saying there really resonates with me as well, for how many ups and downs you can go on this journey, and especially for yourself when you're not tackling a simple problem here. You've got physical retail and product, you've got retailers, you've got delivery stuff, you've got consumers, and like a solution here that works for all those parties. There's so many spinning plates I can only begin to imagine to get right. So it sounds like you must be a very disciplined person indeed, Loïc, to make that work.
I try to, and again, it's about the mindset, right? When you have the right mindset and you want to make things happen, then you find the energy, and with the discipline, with the sleep, the good health, and support around you. When you connect with nice people, and you had some very nice guests on your podcast too, and those are inspiring, right? And when you listen to those guys who make it happen, who did it, and who continue to crush on it, that's just amazing and inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I know the another one of the topics you wanted to discuss was around helping people on the planet, and this being your mission with what you're doing, and I guess a lot of people, when they go on a startup journey or an entrepreneurial journey, they want to go and make money. But you maybe, I'm not saying you don't want to make money either, but I'm intrigued by how that's come about, and what that means to you, and how you're thinking about that while you're building your business.
Yeah, so my personal drivers in life and in business is I like to help, I like to share, and I like to learn. So when I was, getting older, not that I'm that old, but I wanted to make something better for the planet, help the planet, and make this place better. So I was looking for an idea that was, who had a purpose, who had a meaningful sense, regarding that principle of helping others and helping the planet. So when the ideas of sustainable packaging and reusable packaging came, it may sound silly and obvious, but for me it was resonating with my personal goal, which I wanted to help. So when I combine this business need, because companies are now looking into more sustainability, customers wants to be more sustainable, they make more educated decision regarding how they consume stuff, And there is also the government coming in saying, hey guys, you need to reduce your number of waste, and they are targeting some retailers. There are some countries like Australia, France, we just issue new laws to invite retailers to reduce the number of waste. So when you were combining those needs plus my wish to help the planet and this invention that we have patented regarding the collapsible box, we believe there is now a momentum, and those creates the magic, right? In the shaker you have all the ingredients to have a meaningful, purposeful, professional life, helping the planet, helping the customer, having a gamish user experience, but also, you know, playing the game in a very meaningful and with a sense, with a purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, then, no one's losing then. Everyone wins.
That's the only way to do
Which
business.
is a wonderful,
Win-win.
wonderful story. Yeah. Win, 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 win. I love it. It's so inspiring to hear you talk about it like that, Loïc. And I agree. Like, and I hopefully, you know, from my perspective at least, like I hope that more and more countries around the world increasingly care about this, not just the individuals and the businesses, but at a nationwide, you know, state level where rules and laws can come in to encourage and incentivize the right behaviors. Because I think while it's great to see so many people doing good, like I think a lot of the change comes when it is required and no longer an option, and then you end up leveling everyone and every business up to making better decisions. And slightly off topic of more political, but I think everyone around the world needs to be jumping on board to try and solve some of the challenges we have right now. So I appreciate you sharing that as a whole theme there, Loïc. I guess in terms of kind of related to this, you had, I know we talked about it a little bit, but this whole concept of, which I'm sure we've all heard, hopefully now, the frame of reduce, reuse, recycle. You seemingly are building a company that almost that could be your tagline. So it'd be great to hear more about how you think about that with your product development, about how you're developing Quid, and how do you even go about persuading businesses to jump on board with this approach? It'd be good to I was going to say unpack that a bit, but that would be a bit of a pun with the box side of things. But
that's hopefully something that becomes more and more known by everyone. This reduce, reuse, and recycle. In the past, we were, at least that's what I learned at school, at university, that we wanted to reduce our impact by recycling our materials. And actually, there are two much more important steps to do before that. And before being able to recycle what you have used, it's much better first to reduce what you need and have a more meaningful consumption life, meaning that, do you really need to buy this? Is it really necessary? Do you need to buy a new iPhone? Do you need to change clothes? Do you need to go with your car over there? Reduce, reduce, reduce. And with Quid, that's what we do with all boxes. We wanted to reduce the number of boxes into on the planet, because we will be able to reduce it. So you don't need those piles at the retailers, because they will be able to reuse the one that just received back. So that's the first thing. And then of course, because it's circular, you reuse it as well. And it's not only a concept at the packaging level, but it can be applied to anywhere in your life, right? You can be smarter in the way you buy stuff, and that's where I think you mentioned the government and the laws, but the real power is with the people, right? So when people take ownership of their own behavior and they do things that are meaningful because they know how it goes, and then we can connect with the education topic afterwards if you want, but it's really about who has the power. The one who buys stuff. A business is relates to his customer. So we can discuss, for example, greenwashing, right? when you have greenwashing, it works because people listen to it. So if you have people, if the customers is aware about what they are doing and the information they receive is not exactly right, and if they have better knowledge, better understanding of what's going on, they will be able to take a better decision. They will change their customer behaviors, and then the greenwashing will die by itself. So it's about knowledge, and it's not about only education. You have to be curious. There are plenty sources of information today. It's very difficult to find the way within all those sources, but it's possible to know what's happening, or have a better understanding at least, and to have better educated decision to make educated decision, and be able to select the product that makes sense according to what you really need, connection to the reduce, and then reuse what you have, and then finally you can recycle. And for that there are some nice chemical processes to recycle, but before that we should reduce and reuse, that's for sure. That's the only way.
So very much emphasizing that recycling is the last resort, and I assume largely because that bit gets very messy. That bit requires energy, a lot more energy in itself. That requires investment to figure out how to recycle things, and not everything easily can be recycled, right?
Correct. And I think you had also Tim Frisch the other day on your podcast, and we think that digital is the future and technology is the future, and that's partly right. But I think what you do with EcoSend and also what Tim is doing with Mighty Byte is bringing the sustainability dimension into the digital space, which is needed in the way we are living today. If we don't want to go back to the Stone Age, we will need to keep the technology. But we can make the technology a bit greener, when hosting the server on a location where the energy is coming from the sun or from the wind, those kind of things, which will keep the level where it is in terms of comfort, but it will reduce the impact on the planet. And that's, I think, really needed regarding the life the world we are in today. So it's about the conscience and being able to take the decision and live the life which we feel comfortable with.
Absolutely. And I guess I'm just I know I was just gonna follow on though around the topic of, especially with physical products and reducing and reusing, and I know you also mentioned in passing about the transport piece as well, which must be a critically important piece of, especially in your work where boxes don't sit still, they get transported from A to B, and that's usually why something ends up in a box, to protect it. And I guess that whole transport piece is not always something anyone thinks about when they're buying a product on a shelf in a supermarket or a shop of any kind. So is that another piece where there's thoughts in your brain, the entrepreneurial brain, of trying to solve that, or are there solutions there that are of interest to you then, like that help us reduce that side of the impact?
Of course, we should all, when possible, buy local. But I think it's touching on it's a good example I can share with our journey. When initially we wanted our product to be B2B2C, meaning that you as a customer, you buy online and you receive at your place, at your home, the box, and then you collapse the box. It's already you have already the stamp on it, so you don't have to buy for the return, and you just drop it into a letterbox.
Right.
The challenge with that today is that the return, it's more costly. So to pay for the stamp to return, it's more costly than buying a new carton box. So when you put yourself in the shoes of the retailer, you have the option of, okay, I can go sustainable, but then I will have to pay for the return, which is more expensive than taking a new box on my pile coming from the carton manufacturer.
Right.
So what we did at Quid, we pivot a bit, and in place of targeting that from the beginning, we wanted to work on what we call internal flows and e-commerce. So for example, you have a warehouse, we prepare an order for a customer which decided to not select in the order process. You can select if the order is shipped to your home place, or if you want to pick it up when you go to to the shop in your in the city center or something. So basically, in place of shipping from the warehouse to your place privately, it can go to the local shop where you can go and pick it up. And when you do that, the big difference from a business perspective is that the brand stays in control of the box, because when you go to the shop and you pick up your goods, you leave the box there, and then the shop collects it and returns. So from a logistic perspective, it's the same truck, is the same logistic that goes back and forth within the brands, and it doesn't go outside of the control of the company. So that's the pivot we made a few months ago to ensure that we will be able to make it successful from a business perspective, because sustainability-wise, it makes complete sense, but to be a real solution for the customers, for all customers, it also has to make business sense. And that's where we did that pivot to be sure that, sustainability alone will not be strong enough, a strong driver enough to make the customer take the decision to move away from the carton single-use solution and move to the reusable one. So that's the way we approach the market today.
Absolutely. That's a really interesting one, because it is also, it's something we hit on with EcoSend a lot as well. When you have some, I maybe you find this too, you have many great conversations with businesses, and particularly leaders within a business who are desperately want to do the right thing when it comes to planet and climate. But at the end of the day, there are very, very hard realities of business today, which are ultimately taking the priority. And so it's like trying to find ways to bring, or we find at least, trying to bring creative solutions that care about the climate, but into a business where, back to the point earlier, it's win-win-win, and like there's not a downside. And I think as soon as you sort of start trying to bring a climate pitch in, which has a trade-off, which has but it's more expensive, or but it doesn't have this feature you need, like that's where people suddenly get very real with where climate sits in their agenda. And I think it's just something that's a harsh reality, I think, especially in B2B, which I think is something that hopefully that keeps rising up the agenda for more and more businesses. But it's a tough world to compete in out there, I think.
Correct.
Yeah, I know. In terms of timing, Loïc, we're flying through the episode, and I'm keen to make sure we touch on some of the other things you wanted to talk about, because there's a couple of other cracking topics to talk through. And I think in particular, you wanted to talk about the importance of education. And I know you've mentioned it a few times, but education is obviously very, very near and dear to your heart. And in your opinion, is a big part of the answer to some of the challenges we have right now, right?
Completely. If you want a better world, if you want people to behave in a different way, you need to tell them why, right? You cannot just put rules and say, hey, this is the line you need to follow. You need to explain why you follow those lines. And it's even better if the customer themselves can define their own line and say, hey, I want to behave like this because that's my value, that's my principle. So the only way to do that is to learn, right? You can read books, you can listen to podcasts, you can surf the internet, you can go anywhere, discuss with friends, and you get knowledge. And with that knowledge, you can change your behaviors, and you can decide what's good, what's not good for you according to your principles. And so it's basically education. So when people have a good understanding of what they are facing, they can navigate it more smartly and change their behavior, their attitude, their life, their lifestyle. And I guess that you, James, today you have a different lifestyle than you had when you had 15 years or 20 years or 25 years, right? And it's about experience, it's about education, it's about learning. And I think that's key in today's world if we want people to have a different lifestyle, a different meaningful behavior regarding how they move on the planet, the type of vacation they are selecting, the kind of food they are eating, the kind of entertainment they are doing. If you want that to be more meaningful and less impactful, one of the best way to do that is to educate people. And it's everyone's
Absolutely,
responsibility,
absolutely.
right? It's not something that, okay, education will come. No, it's your responsibility to know and to learn and to read and to listen. So it's not something that we will give you as a gift, say, hey, good luck, now you're educated and yeah, have a happy life. No, it's really your responsibility to look into it and learn and yeah, and if possible, share as well, because it's when sharing that, you create this stimulation and synergies between people, and that's what we are doing today. Now we are sharing the moment, and hopefully people listening to us will be able to take that as a good advice, and they will like it and say, hey, you know what, tomorrow I will do this, I will do that, I will take my life into my hands and have a more meaningful personal life. And when you do that, you are happier, you are healthier, and it's a positive spiral, right? So it's easy said, but it's not so easy to do, but I really encourage everyone to do it.
Absolutely. What a strong statement to be almost wrapping up the show with, Loïc. I think that's such an inspiring and uplifting sort of sentiment to have, because and the education piece, it's never done, is it? It's something that we are always working towards, and the journey that we've been on ourselves, I think, has been an incredibly fascinating one. And I feel every week and every day that goes by, I'm learning more about the wider topic of how we can help make things a bit better on this planet. And I'm always amazed at how little I knew a week ago or a month ago and a year ago. And so hopefully and as you said, like learning and then sharing as well, and sharing is a great way to learn better and help it stick in the brain too, I think. So
Yes.
I know before we do wrap up, like, I think there's just two more things I wanted to talk through with you. One was your future. What's next for yourself and for Quid? I'm keen to hear, and I'm sure many listeners will be keen to hear about where you're going next, if you can share anything there.
So for the moment, Quid is only available in Switzerland, but we want to make it available anywhere. So probably the next step will be to go in Europe or in the US. We have to decide on that one, but for sure we want to make that solution available wherever possible, because the final goal is to remove the single-use carton box from the planet. That's from a company perspective. And also personally, I like sharing, I like learning, I like connecting. So I'm wondering if one day I may, I don't know, do like you do, maybe a podcast or a coaching business, or helping others. We want to have a more impacting or more meaningful life. So maybe helping others in a more structured way. That might be something coming on my way too.
Absolutely. That sounds very exciting to me. Do keep us posted. Maybe there's another podcast episode once you got that set up too, and you're in your US headquarters running the running everything. That's awesome. That sounds very exciting, Loïc. And I guess just on the last point, I know we always ask guests if there's any advice they've received over the years or any advice they have for others. And I believe you have some. As if you haven't already shared enough advice, I'm keen to just grab any wise words you have for us before we wrap up the show today.
From a business perspective, I think the best advice I received in my very short journey was get to know your customer and connect with your customers as soon as possible. Don't wait to have an MVP or something which is sellable or you think is sellable before connecting with them. You need to build something that will help them, so it's a solution for them. So as soon as possible, you should contact with them to be sure that what you are building, what you are creating, what you are offering will be helping them, will be solving one issue. So connect with your customers as soon as possible. That's probably the best advice, or one of the best advice I received during my entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. Amazing. I think that sounds very solid. I could not agree more as well. And so easy to put that off while you focus on building the thing. But talking to people, connecting customers, it never is a bad idea, is it?
It's always easy,
Thank you.
It's your baby. You try to build it. You're very passionate about it. So you want to iterate, build, improve, and then by doing so you do that as a silo, right? You disconnect a bit from your customer, and that's the thing you try to break with with that, connection, keeping your customer appraised of what you're doing, why you're doing, take the feedback, implement it, adapt, and be agile.
Absolutely. Loïc, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. I'm coming away from this feeling incredibly inspired and motivated to go out there and share everything I know a bit more and do more in this world to make things better. I'm also going to try and cut down my usage of boxes and see if I can get hold of a Quid box at some point. Hopefully you do make it over to the UK soon, and wishing you the best of luck on expanding Quid, because it seems like exactly what the world needs right now. And for anyone who wants to connect with you, you're on LinkedIn, so we'll put that link in the show notes. And your website for the offering itself is quid.com. So that's KWIID.com, which I think is a really great domain. So congrats on getting that. So thank you, Loïc. Thank you very much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Cheers, Loïc.
Cheers.
And thank you everyone for listening and watching today. Really appreciate you tuning in. As always, if you've enjoyed the show, it really helps if you let us know and let other people know. So do drop a nice comment or a rating for the show. It really helps get wonderful stories like Loïc's out there into the world. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.